Even at the age of 7, I decided I was going to kill my dad. I wish my dad were a better dad.
All dads, within their heart, they really want to be there for their kid. But it's just that they don't also know how to do it. They didn't receive that type of love.
No one is really and actively teaching men how to grow their character.
This curse of violence or absenteeism have been there from generation to generation. And now you're saying, I don't want my kids to experience that. I want it to end with me.
And my name is Chester Ko.
My name is Jeremiah Zabarte.
And I am Joseph Zabarte.
Welcome to No Man Left Behind, a podcast for Filipino men.
Most men grow up watching their fathers without ever truly knowing them. They saw them provide, they saw them protect, they saw them show up, or they saw them disappear. But very few of us ever sat down with our fathers and heard them say, this is what I went through, this is what I carried, and this is why I showed up the way I did. That silence shaped us more than we realize. Today, we're opening that conversation, not to dishonor our fathers, but to understand them, and more importantly, to understand ourselves. So this episode is for every man who grew up with questions his father never answered, and every father who does not want to leave his son with the same silence.
Welcome to No Man Left Behind, a podcast for Filipino men.
And for our first episode, we wanted to start with something special, something personal, Father's Day. For some men, Father's Day is easy to celebrate. For some men, it's complicated, even painful. Some men had fathers who were present, intentional, and safe. Some men had fathers who loved them, but didn't know how to guide them. Some men had fathers who wounded them, and now they're trying desperately to become the kind of man they never had growing up.
So today, pag-uusapan natin, what do Filipino men carry from their fathers? But before we start, we have what we call the blind box here in the middle, care of our team, no? So we'll not reveal what this is, but di muna natin siya bubuksan. But at the end of the episode, we will reveal it and ask, is this something men should keep carrying? Is this something men should redefine? Or is this something men need to finally hear from? No?
I'm excited
Hindi
for
naman ito
this.
gumagalaw, no? Hindi naman, okay. Kasi bago gumalaw kasi. Pero anyways.
Buhay pa lang nasa
buhay
loob,
pa lang nasa loob, eh, no? Well, anyways, wow, this is it.
I know.
Yeah, wow. Tawag dito. Of course, before anything else, I think it's important for us to discuss before we talk about our fathers. Why does this podcast exist? Like, why did we even start this movement?
Yeah.
No Man Left Behind. Kasi ang daming lalaki ngayon na mukha na silang okay, but we don't really know what's happening inside of them. No, and I'll just share my experience.
Okay.
My very experience leading up to this point. My very first few conversations with Jeremiah, and I already knew that you were a different breed, bro. This guy was a different breed. I remember it was in Starbucks, and then it was my second week in church because that's where we met through Jacob, no. And then second week ko pa lang sa church, and then this guy goes to me. I wasn't that serious yet with the Lord. This guy goes up to me, and then he asked me, "Oh, how's your walk with God?" Sa isip ko parang, sino to? Sino ka? But leading up to that point, we got closer. And then I remember it was during that church event, the very first church event where you guys led this live podcast between a father and a son. And I was still very lost at that time. Parang sobrang wala talaga akong direksyon. I was very hurt, and the Lord was still dealing with my heart, starting to deal with my heart. And then when you started that event and I was in that space, I will never forget that God moment. So we call it that God moment when I started to hear your story, Tito, na I can't believe for someone who was a former Satanist and a former son that wanted to kill his dad, into seeing you now being a good husband and also a man of God and also a good father to your 3 kids. That correct, right? In that order. I remember. I memorized your bio. I memorized your Instagram bio. But seeing that, and I remember just looking around that space, that room full of godly men. Dun talaga ako na parang, oh, this is what I need. This is what, if he can do it, if God can move through you in that aspect, then that's what I want.
Well, I'm encouraged. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be talking more about that, not just in this episode, but even in the future episodes. More and more, we're going to be seeing this coming up and how this will hopefully resonate with every single one of you that will be out there, because we're not perfect, by the way, but we're growing.
We're just close. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But we're growing, we're learning, and we hope that you can join us in this journey together.
Yeah, I think what really sparked this podcast was because, well, number one, we love the Philippines. I know so many Filipinos talk about how much they hate the Philippines, but I think what they really mean is they hate the leadership and the government. But I find it interesting because when you go abroad, the Philippine community is so close. And foreigners love Filipinos.
Yeah.
And then when they talk about our country, we're known as one of the most beautiful people and one of the most beautiful countries there are. In fact, when they made a list just this year of the most beautiful beaches around the world, Philippines was number one.
Yeah.
And so to me, the idea that to everyone else, our home is a paradise, our people are some of the most loving people, and yet the moment Filipinos come back to our country, all of a sudden we hate each other.
Tama.
All of a sudden we're fighting each other. And there's such a large disconnect there. And we were talking not too long ago about how it's kind of different, the men here versus abroad. Because in the Philippines, it's very matriarchal. Meaning, oftentimes, it's the mom, the lola, who leads the family. They're the ones who know what you're going through, what school you're going to, who your teachers are. And the dads tend to be hands off. They just focus on providing, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And we can see the effects of fatherlessness in our country. And it doesn't mean that fatherlessness simply means you never grew up with a dad. It could also mean that your dad was present, but never took the time to be intentional with you.
Yeah.
Or it could be your dad is an OFW. He loves you so much, but he's not here. Or it could be that your dad, like in your case, was just a bad dad. And the question is, a lot of young men now, they're being held to a certain standard of who they should be, how they should live. But no one took the time to actually teach them. No one took the time to actually mentor them.
Yeah.
And the moment we fail, we hear phrases like, all men are trash, walang kwenta yung mga Pilipinong lalaki. And I think it's so unfair because no one is really and actively teaching men how to grow their character. And I think the more we help young men learn about these things, the things most people don't talk about, they don't teach this in school.
Yeah.
They don't talk about this in their friend groups. And most parents don't discuss it. But if more young men are able to grow into maturity, then we'll have better husbands, better fathers, better leaders. And strong men will produce strong families, and that will produce a strong nation.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're after.
That's right.
Yeah. What's the again? I remember this. Kalimutan ko lang eh. Pero family is the first. Ano yun? Is the first. What's that?
Unit of society.
Unit of society. Yes. So hindi ko kaya sa. Dadaling ko sa confidence pero nakalimutan ko. Yeah. But yeah. So why do you think? Like going back, what do you think? Why do you think this space is very important for Filipino men?
Well, I think I believe that men are the foundation of society. It doesn't make us better than women, by the way, but that's how God, I believe, created men to be. He took dust from the ground and created man, and woman came from him. So the foundation is men. It's true that the family is the smallest unit of society, but I think the foundation of society is men. Society and a nation will only be as strong as the men are strong, because everything is built from him. And again, it's not to put women down. It's not to say they're second-class citizens or anything. Men are the builders. Women are the beautifiers. They make things beautiful. Men make things strong. And so it's so
Yeah.
important for men to be strong, for men to be whole. And that's why I believe that the enemy, the devil, will do everything he can to destroy men because we're the foundation. And just like any building, any structure, it will only be as strong as the foundation. The higher the building is, the deeper and more stable the foundation must be. And if the devil can destroy the men, then society will not go as far as it potentially can. And so our show, this podcast really is about strengthening the men.
Yeah.
And understanding our role. Now, we're not women, so we're not going to really be speaking to women directly, but hopefully the families can become better as the men become stronger, as the men become whole. But we also need to understand, what does it mean to be strong? And we're going to be dealing with that, not just in one episode, but as we go along in our program. And I think it's important to be able to understand that number one, we're not perfect. None of us here.
Yeah.
We're not perfect.
Far.
We're also growing in the process. And hopefully, we can journey together. And we'd love to be able to hear from you in the comments and know what your struggles are. Perhaps that could become even an episode that we will discuss in the future. But I guess the pinaka bottom line really is growth.
Yeah.
Not perfection, but progress.
Yeah.
Let's grow together. Let's heal together. There are many things that we all have to heal from. And the only one perfect is Jesus Christ. And last I heard, none of us are Jesus Christ. So we're all growing, we're all learning together with you, and we'd love for you to journey with us in this.
Exactly. And I think that's why we chose this name, No Man Left Behind. Because we know a lot of us, including myself, I know what it feels like to feel like you're left behind. Like others are growing and you don't know how to grow. And it's not about us lecturing men. It's about us walking with them side by side, growing with them, because we are so desperate to grow as well. And we want to be able to share this journey with every guy that wants to grow. Because I think we're used to just performing, we're used to creating an image. But I would rather people think I'm broken, but I'm growing inside, than they think I'm perfect, but I'm broken inside.
Yeah, one of the things in our society really is that the women hold the power, in the home. And sometimes even among men, we jokingly, but yet I think there's a large measure of truth. We call the wife commander,
Boss.
boss.
Tanong ko
all
muna
of
kay
that.
Commander.
The one who wears the pants,
Yeah.
right? The one who knows what's happening
Uh-oh.
and all of that. And we joke about it, but the problem is, even as a joke, it causes the men to become more passive.
Yeah.
And it forces the women, and it's not because women are Jezebelian or anything like that, but if the men don't lead, women will rise up.
Yeah.
But they're not called to lead, they're called to help. And men need help. But what happens is the power structure is very matrilinear. It goes from lola to mother to daughter. And the men are always told, o maglaro ka muna dyan sa labas. Okay, huwag kang magstorbo dito, huwag kang magulo dito. Diyan kayo sa labas. And so Nene, the daughter, is the one that helps mom clean the house, wash the dishes. They become responsible. And boys, they just play with their toys.
And we become a burden one day when we grow up.
Exactly. We do the same thing. Our toys a little bit more sophisticated. Our conversations a little more sophisticated. But while the moms and the daughters are at home cooking, husband and junior are outside at the sari-sari store drinking beer with the guys until the wife calls and say, "Oy, kain na kayo." And that's the only time we come home.
Yeah.
So we're disconnected from that. And we have abdicated our role to lead.
Yeah.
And that creates a tremendous problem even in different sectors of society. What's happening now, for example, in the Senate is a manifestation of that. We've got, I don't want to say this, but we've got kids, boys, running our nation. And that's a scary thing.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, and I think one thing that going back to your example, either with the when they were kids, they were asked to go out, and then when it's time to eat, come back inside. I think it's also a generational thing. Kasi parang hindi rin naman alam ng mga magulang na oh, ganito pala dapat mag-parent. I have to be intentional. Because they didn't also learn it from their
Right.
generation. So without them knowing it, they're already tawag dito, parang hindi na nila natututukan yung character nung mga anak nila. And then nagulat na lang sila one day, oh my gosh, ganito na pala yung anak ko. Bakit siya nagkaganyan? Tapos
Yeah.
sabihin nila na parang, magpakalalaki ka nga. Ikaw yung lalaki. You should be the man of the house. But then in your head, paano nga? Paano nga? And I just want to share this. I remember we were studying this book, what's that again?
Modern Day Nights.
Modern Day Nights, Raising a Modern Day Knight. And amongst everything, I didn't finish the book, just half. But among everything, the one thing that really stuck to me is the story of si Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer. Si Jeffrey Dahmer pala,
The serial killer.
the serial killer. The reason why he became a serial killer was because his dad was present but was absent at the same time. Did I make sense?
Yeah.
So parang
Meaning he was physically there.
yeah.
But he was not emotionally available.
Yeah, so without him knowing, Jeffrey Dahmer was already looking at animals pala and already observing. I don't know, of course, it's not his thought process, pero parang he was already observing how do I kill this? Parang something like that. So I think it's because in our culture, intentionality as parents or intentional mentorship
As a father.
especially is not really given importance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True, because many times we had to just figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we just expect, if I was able to do it, then my kid should be able to do it. You'll eventually figure it out. But the problem is, we don't. We don't figure it out. We always learn through modeling. And so, how our parents were, one of two things will happen. We either become like them or we swing way to the other side. But that's more reactive. It's not intentional. My dad was very strict, I'll become lenient. Or my dad was very lenient, I'll become a military general in the home. Or something like that. So the tendency is our parenting becomes very reactional. It's very reactive. And so we're swinging and we don't know where the middle ground is. And if we don't spend time in the scriptures and look at our heavenly Father, who is a loving Father, but at the same time, a loving Father, but at the same time, one who is just, one who is holy, one who doesn't waste time, one is very intentional. We need to become like that. But the question is, unless somebody was that way with me, how can I give what I don't have?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it actually shows because even there's this guy, I think his name was James Robinson, where he wanted to help the different inmates where he was working. And so Mother's Day was coming up and they sent about 500 cards, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And all of them were so excited to write to their moms. It was so successful that when Father's Day came, they repeated that project. And all of them returned the cards because they wanted nothing to do with their dads.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the Philippines, 1 in 3 children don't grow up with both parents present. And out of the single parents, 95% are single moms. The dads don't show up.
But I think that's, for me, it's like kudos to the moms.
Yeah.
That you're there for your
That's
kids
strength.
when the men are not there.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
To be able to lead, to teach your kids about life, to pay the bills, put food on the table as a single mom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No joke.
That's not easy. It's no joke, And so to all of you moms that are single moms, it's just like hats off to you. I think you're doing the best that you can. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much. I grew up also with a single mom for a while, until she remarried, and I know my mom did her best, tried her best. She was not perfect, made a lot of mistakes in the process, wounded us in the process, but she was there. She was present. She showed up the best that she could, and I have the highest respect for single parents, whether you're a mom or a dad. But as a single parent, wow, congratulations to you.
That's right. Now let's speak to the young men because our audience, some of them have yet to become dads. Maybe they're still dating. Some of them just became dads. And now they're worried because in that stage, their point of reference is what they experience with their dads. And they probably are starting to wonder, like, my gosh, am I mature enough? Am I going to be wise enough to
Yeah.
raise up my child in a way that they will become better than I was? But the truth is, most men don't ask for help, and most men won't admit that they need guidance. So I wanted to ask you, why do you think men refuse to ask for guidance and help, even though they desperately want and need it inside?
I think, one of the reasons is because there's something in men that's we're called to lead. It doesn't matter how weak or how strong you are. Here's the thing: strength can be a scary thing. Strength that is not tempered by character usually becomes violence. And so men understand violence. We understand that because you don't need much to be violent. It takes a tremendous amount of maturity and self control to be able to rein in that violence so that you can be strong quietly. So, what we do is there's a tendency to compensate. And one way is I'm not going to ask for help because I'm strong. Why will I show you I'm weak? Why will I show you that I need help? Because then you're going to think I'm weak. You're going to think I don't have my act together. You're going to think that I have no direction in life. And there's almost like a shame that is attached to that.
Yeah.
It's a shameful thing to ask for help, which in fact it's not. It takes a tremendous amount of strength to say, you know what? I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. But we think it's weakness. We interpret that to be weakness. And so we don't do it.
Yeah. What was your you always ano because that's also my experience. It's also I find it so hard also to reach out, especially before I got surrounded by uh godly men like you guys. Parang ang hirap mag-reach out and say na look, nahihirapan ako, kailangan ko ng tulong. But there's always that one phrase that you always mention, asking for help is not you.
Oh, asking for help. I learned this, I think, from my mom. Asking for help is not you giving up, it's you refusing to give up. That even though it's going to cost me my pride, I will do whatever it takes to get out of the situation I'm stuck in and grow from there.
Yeah, and I think one thing lang na also throughout the seasons na I started to realize is if we do not shine light on this topic, on this epidemic, if I may, na of men really suffering without asking for help, eventually sasabog rin lahat eh. And we don't really see kasi the effects of it. It's not just with us eh. Like if men are really called to lead, it will affect our families, our work, the people around us. Like you will wound people unintentionally.
That's
If
right.
we men don't really address this and help each other, that's why our brand is No Man Left Behind. Because I think we cannot heal and grow as a nation and as a community without each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree. And I also think that maybe when we were younger, we were more vocal about needing help. But the culture that we grew up in shames people when you do ask for help, like what you shared.
Yes.
And I think a lot of Filipino men are so more than willing to receive help. It's just that they don't want to receive another lecture. They don't want to feel like they're being judged or shamed. They want someone to come in the picture with them, walk with them side by side, and not judge them when they fall or not judge them when they fail.
Yeah. What do you think happens when we men receive lectures? Because it doesn't work. Eh.
Receive what? Lectures.
Lectures. Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you think?
Lectures don't work so well because it makes the one receiving it feel stupid, and sometimes it's like, who do you think you are to lecture me?
Mm.
And then the emotional reaction is, I'm better than you, or I know what your life is. Who are you to say this to me?
Yeah.
One of the advantages I think that we have at this time is that you can watch us from the privacy of your room or sala or wherever you are, or even while you're commuting or driving, and nobody's there to judge you. And you can just listen and hopefully learn a thing or two from us in our, even not just because of the things we learned, but even from our mistakes. And you'll find out and say, wow, I used to do that too, or I'm still doing that, and I realize mali pala. It's just that I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
And so I just end up doing what I know.
Yeah.
But hearing a different perspective will say, maybe I can try that. And then you try it and realize it's working for me.
Yeah.
But there's no one there to say, ikaw kasi ang tanga-tanga mo eh.
Yeah.
Ang bobo-bobo mo. Ang tanda-tanda mo na hanggang ngayon, ganito ka pa rin. Right? And we're not here to say that.
Yeah.
We're here to grow. There are some things, I'm in my 60s. But there are some things I'm just learning now. But it's also built on other things I've learned before. And so growth is progressive. And what we want to say is not just to the young men, but even to the dads and the grandfathers and great-grandfathers. Because you know what? Even as a Father's Day episode, one of the things I've learned is you never outgrow the need for a father.
Yep.
You never
Yeah.
outgrow that. I wish
Yeah.
my dad were a better dad. I wish my dad were still alive. Someone who could speak into my life, and so I enjoy speaking to men older than me and learn from them, learn from their mistakes, learn from their the things that they celebrate, And I think the best thing is that we have a heavenly Father who is perfect. And as we interact with him through worship, through prayer, we learn things.
Yeah.
We learn things from him. He speaks to us, and we become a better person, a better man out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the encouragement we want to be able to give you. This is not because just of us, but we, each one of us here, we have a Father who is God, who is perfect, who speaks into our lives so that even what our parents were not able to give us, our Heavenly Father is.
I agree.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that you never outgrow the need for a dad, I can attest to that. Because like to give a quick example lang, when I was still 25, I remember I really messed up my life in certain areas, whether it was relationships.
Details daw. Sabi. Ang daming details
With-
daw.
I said the name. But relationships, friendship, and I started to see the consequences of my immaturity. And I was already 25. And I had to go to my parents, my dad. And it was one of the first times where I was very honest because I was too prideful to ask for help before. And so I went up to you guys and I said, you know what? In this particular area of my life, I'm clueless. And I keep messing things up. And so I need a better way. Can you help me? And I was 25. But they were so available. They were more than happy to help me. And that has really changed and shaped my life and caused me to mature even in my mid-20s. And so I agree, you never outgrow the need for a dad.
But also to be able to speak to the dads out there. Some of you are dads, you've got kids, maybe they're in their single-digit ages, or maybe they're teens, 20s, or maybe you're a granddad. And you're saying, I don't know how to speak to my own kids, to my sons, to my daughters, because my dad didn't speak to me as well. one of the things you can do is to learn, study. There are many good books there to read. If you're not a reader, there's Audible, right? Or podcasts like this, where, and this is not by far the only one, but we want to be able to be unique in that sense. And you'll discover the uniqueness as you follow us and join us in our future episodes. But to be able to learn and speak to mature men so that you yourself will grow. The advantage that we have, like for example, in my case, is even if I don't know everything, but chances are I will know more than Jeremiah. And definitely what I have over him is more experience, both good and bad. And I can learn from that. As I spend time praying and talking to my Father in heaven, I learn things and I can make course corrections along the way. It's never too late to make corrections. And as I learn, I pass on.
Yeah.
See? And that's part of the mentoring that every generation needs.
Because a wise man, you once said, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man learns from other people's mistakes so that they don't have to repeat them.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. And up to them na lang kung ulitin nila. Pero nagkamali tayo eh.
Yeah.
So, learn from it na lang. Parang hindi nyo, di ba? Parang hindi nyo na ulitin.
Yeah.
Now, since Father's Day, since this is a Father's Day episode, and we all come from different backgrounds of our loving fathers, so I think just to give more depth, no, to what we grew up with, what kind of dad did you guys grow up with?
Well, in my case, my dad was a very violent person. He would beat up my mom. He would beat us up. I'm the eldest of 5 kids. And all of us had not just a taste. It was like 3 meals a day of the violence, emotional, mental, verbal, and physical violence that we all grew up in. But being the eldest, I felt it was my obligation, my duty to protect my mom, protect my siblings. But the hardest part was I had to protect them from my dad. We're not talking about protecting them from a thief that comes from outside, protecting them from a violent neighborhood, protecting them from someone that must be the one protecting us.
Yeah.
I grew up in that, and it became such that bloodshed was, I won't say regular, but there was bloodshed. My dad broke my mom's nose, almost chopped her left hand off with a crowbar, not even with a cleaver.
In
you know?
the TV, right?
And then before wall-mounted TVs were a thing, we had the first wall-mounted TV. My dad picked up our TV, threw it at my mom. Buti na lang umilag siya, and it was so strong that the TV did not bounce off the wall. It got stuck into the wall.
Grabe.
So,
And the TVs before, they were, ano eh.
well,
Tawag
this
doon?
was a small TV.
Yeah, but
this was
it's still boxy.
Yeah.
It's boxy.
Yeah.
And so we had a hole in the wall, and the TV was still there.
It's stuck.
It's stuck. It didn't even fall down. That's how much power my dad had. And when he uses the belt on us, he doesn't count. He just belts us until he gets tired. I bled. I grew up in that.
And sometimes
grew
the
up,
buckler, right? It happened before.
One time it was with the buckle on my brother. And the buckle hit him right here in front. He collapsed in the pain.
How young were you?
The violence started probably when I turned 2.
2 years old?
2 years old. I grew up with that. That was our staple. And my mom and my dad, they were constantly fighting. It would not be an exaggeration to say easily once a week. So the screaming, I grew up in fear. I grew up in fear. That's why even at the age of 7, I decided I was going to kill my dad.
Why again? What happened when you were 7?
My parents had a really big fight, and my mom was, she had cuts, scratches, bruises, and I had to be the one to clean my mom up, wipe away the blood, put medicine on her, and things like that. And I was both broken, angry. Uh, I was a mess. And at that point, my mom just said, "You know what, son? I wish you were 25." I was 7. And she said, "I wish you were 25 so you could do something about this." And
Grabe.
that crushed me. I know my mom meant
7?
well, but it made me feel like I was inadequate. I was good for nothing. I was weak. That's not what she meant, but that's how I took it. And so I vowed I would kill my dad. And I said I would do it before I turned 18 so that I don't go to jail. So even at 7, I was thinking of that. So I took up boxing, I took up knife fighting, I took up archery, I took up martial arts, just different ways to be able to effectively kill my dad, but slowly
Right.
because he had to suffer.
Yeah, parang John Wick. John Wick
John
training.
Wick.
Parang ganun. Yeah.
So I grew up in that kind of environment.
Joseph Wick.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the environment I grew up in. And it messed me up. It
my
really
gosh.
messed me up.
Yeah, and when you think about it, like in our case, in our family, we have this long family tree. And chances are, and it's true, that like my lolo was like that because his dad was like that. And chances are he was like that because his dad was like that.
Yeah.
And when you look at all the different Zabarte men, a lot of them share the same flaws, like a generational curse, whether it's having mistresses or being violent. But for me, in my case, I can honestly say I grew up with a good dad. And that, honestly, in the natural sense, doesn't make sense and shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Because he experienced all of those pains, experienced all of those traumas, and yet chose to stand in the gap and say, it stops with me.
Right.
And because of that, I never knew or experienced what it feels like to have my dad attack me, to have my dad lose his temper
Yeah.
on me, to have my dad abuse me.
Yeah.
And so it is possible to be able to experience a bad dad, but grow into a man that your son deserves.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with a dad who filled me with words of encouragement,
Yeah.
filled me with words of life, who chose to, even when he would discipline us, he would discipline us in a way that, well, one, he would belt us because the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. And I would be the one, I'm screaming, I'm crying, I don't want, right? But I
Actually,
would
meron kaming
always-
video niyan. I-play na lang dito.
And I would always be that guy that if you draw the line, I will see how close can I get to the line without,
Jeremiah, sumusobra ka na, ha?
do you still love me now?
What about now?
What about now? And it's interesting lang because when he would get disciplined, it was out of anger. And his dad would not hold back. When I would get disciplined with a belt, one, if he says he's gonna belt you, there's no turning back now because he's gonna keep his word. But he would whack us, and then after that, he would remind us that he loves us. And then he will explain why he had to discipline us. And he would explain it in a way that even though we were young, we could look into the future. That, for example, let's say I was caught lying. He would say that, you know what, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to have to do this. But if you keep lying, this is actually going to destroy you in the future because by that point, no one's going to trust your word. No one's going to want to be your friend. Your wife is not going to believe you. And that's why these are things you need to learn now.
Yeah.
And so instead of...
I remember when we were talking about the lying,
Yeah.
it's because I tell them the first time you do this, I'll whack you once. But if you do the same thing again, it'll become 2, and then 3, and then 4, right? And so I said, okay, you did this again. How many times should I whack you now? And it was supposed to be like 4
Yeah.
already by then. And he said 1.
So that's another lie.
That's another lie, right? So I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah, just 1. I said, if you lie, instead of the number now, I'm going to add 1 more. Okay, 4.
Yeah, and it just keeps... Buti natuto ka, pare.
Oh,
Buti
well,
natuto ka,
honestly,
bro.
I still struggled with lying when I was growing up. It's not like I learned it instantly, right? And I still faced the consequences of the times when I would lie. Even when I was a teenager, I was in my early 20s. But discipline kasi in a way, it's like, it's an external voice you need until you can have that internal voice in you that reminds you of why you need to grow and mature.
Yeah.
But that's the type of dad I grew up with. I grew up with the type of dad who, when I would make mistakes and face all of these consequences, it was easier for me to run towards you and ask for help than to run away from you and try to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And so that's the type of dad I grew up with.
Yeah. And I think sobrang importante nun kasi I think all dads, like, within their heart, they really want to be there for their kid. But it's just that they don't also know
Right.
how to do it. Because no, they didn't receive that type of love. No? And I think your story is very, very inspiring, if I may, no? Na I think it's such a blessing that you can run to your parents and not to other things for guidance and for comfort, especially as you go through life.
What about you, Chester? How was it growing up?
My dad, very, very interesting. Para tayong ano eh, tawag dito, like, that's why I really like this dynamic. It's like black and white, white, then black. Diba? Gets you ba yun? Yeah. But you know, my dad, it's very interesting. I love my dad. I just want to say that out front to everyone. Dad, if you're watching this, I love you. Talagang, my dad loved us, but it's just that he also did not have the proper guidance growing up, no? But tawag dito, my dad, I remember there's this one time, and this is just one example where I talagang felt like my dad really loved me. First time ito ikukwento. Recently lang to, I think 5 years ago. I was not in the Lord yet, and again, ito yung mga mali namin, kaya wag niyo tong gagayahin, ha? Wag niyo gagayahin to. Tawag dito, I went to a party, I got so drunk. Kasi for context, I was the panganay. I am the panganay. And I remember pa, it was a birthday of a good friend of ours, and I bought this shirt. I bought this Uniqlo shirt, and it was a Uniqlo, by the way. Baka lang. But I bought this shirt, and I was so excited to wear it. Since sobrang, parang I feel like myself, you know. And before I left, my lola kasi, my lola, who I love also, by the way, but she just has this habit of talagang observing making comments on your outfit or whatever. Alam mo na, yung mga ganong Pinoy culture. Sabi niya sa akin, babaw nga eh. Sabi niya sa akin, Chester, ano ba yung suot mo? Pangit! I got so mad. Parang nabad trip talaga ako. So I went to that party. I got wasted. And then I ended up crashing my car. In reverse. Can you imagine?
Skill yun.
In reverse, diba? In reverse. As in, ang layo. As in, sobrang layo ng parking lot. And then, pagising ko, I was so drunk. Nag-reverse ako. And then, praise God, for some reason, hindi siya direct impact. Ano lang siya, parang, tawag dito, the place. Pero the place, medyo malalim. So I remember going down, pagbaba ako ng kotse, it kind of sobered me. Sabi ko, patay! You can see the side do, talagang gasgas. Ang haba nung gasgas. And then one of my closest friends, si Chino, kaya talagang, I knew that was really, I think, God's protection. He went, bira siya magalit eh, doesn't really get mad. And then he goes to me and then he says, tawag dito, he says, kaya mo mag-drive? Sabi ko, oh pare, kaya ko bro. Kaya ko. Pero my shift, it was already going like this, oh. Kasi hindi ko siya malak. Then he got, that was the first time he said to me, alam mo, lasing ka, doon ka sa likod, ako magdadrive. And this was outside, near NLEX. Yung maraming truck. So if he allowed me to drive, wala na bro. Wala na no man left behind. Gusto niyo ba yun? So anyways, that happened.
Kayo na left behind.
Ako yun, wala na bro. And
No man na, just no man.
No man. Left behind na lang. Left behind earth. Wala na ako dito. Yeah, but anyways, going back to my dad. I remember going home and my
Siguro inisip ng dad mo, di mo ako kasama sa story na yun ah.
ba't niya kinuwento yun? Gusto lang niya kwento yung mga ano niya before. Hindi, ito na nga. And this really touched me and I was still mad at my dad this time, no? Even though I showed him all of this respect, all of this attitude, all of this hatred, it was my dad who opened the gate. And then it was my dad who fixed the car. Parang he was the one who attended it. And then my lola naman, syempre the next day, alam mo yun, sabi sa akin lola ko, tawag dito, ano ba yan si Chester? Lasing na naman. Uwe, ganyan. To my dad. So I was too hungover, so I could not. So my dad said, okay lang yan, maayos yan. Alam mo, kahit total wreck niya yan, hindi ako magalit sa kanya. Mahal na mahal ko pa rin siya. And so parang, that's when I knew that he really loved me, But of course, since he did not also have this father figure, my lolo, who was also violent. I remember my dad telling me this story na my lolo got mad at him for babaw lang. And actually, I could not. Di ko pwede sabihin na mababaw because I wasn't there. But my lolo, I don't know if it's their generation. I don't know, but he got a saucer. Threw it to my dad from afar. Imagine from that camera. He threw it. As in, parang frisbee, bro. As in, ganon. It hit him here. Pak! Cut! He bled. And to me, parang, oh my gosh, that's so traumatizing as a kid. And that's just one story, And parang, looking back, especially during these recent times leading up to this podcast, he was telling me all of these stories. And talagang he loved us to the best of his capacity.
Yeah.
And I think most men are like that, especially dads, no? It's just that they just really don't know how, but they love us very much.
Yeah.
No?
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think I eventually I knew my dad loved me the best he knew how. And it was only later on that when I got married and then I was pastoring a church and all of that I could see that he was proud of me. But he was also too proud to say it. See? But I knew he was proud of me. And eventually, my relationship with my dad healed. But that's another story, maybe for another time.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. But I don't want to end this podcast or this episode leaving the impression that my dad died and I still hated him. My dad had passed away, but I did not kill him. Okay, I wanted to.
Just want to make that clear, ha?
Yeah, I just want to make that clear.
Boom! NBI!
Hindi po kami.
Sabi ko na nga
No, we became friends again, and even to the point where we could say "I love you" to each other. A lot of healing had taken place, and I'm so grateful to God for the healing that took place in my life as a result of God's work in me and the result of that restored relationship with my dad. I really learned to love my dad very much. I'm grateful to God for that.
I'm grateful for that also because I'm a fruit of that. And for the longest time, I was a bad fruit. If I'm being honest.
Di ba tagal ka lang mag-ripen? Tama ba?
20 plus years to ripen. I was the cause of the white hair in my parents' head and everything. But because you were so intentional, and there's so many men here na they're probably thinking, that's hard to do if I never received that. And that's why it's called intentional. Because what is not natural must be intentional.
Yes.
And I'm so
Until
grateful.
it becomes natural.
Until it becomes natural, becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you really took the time to be able to face those generational curses. That way, it's not getting worse every generation that passes in our family. But the hope is that every new generation is better than the last.
Yeah.
And the same is true for you also. It's also possible for you as well.
There's a movie that I watched many years ago, and it really spoke to me. The prophet Gandalf in Lord of the Rings when he told that big creature, you shall not pass.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And God spoke to me, through that. And he said, there are many curses that want to come into your life, but at some point you just have to say, you shall not pass. It stops here, you know. And for those of you men, for those of us men, where maybe your dad and his dad and his dad and his dad, what we can call a generational curse that Jeremiah spoke about, maybe this curse of violence or absenteeism and so on and so forth have been there from generation to generation. And now you're saying, I don't want my kids to experience that. I want it to end with me. Just the fact that you are saying that is a major step forward. But that's just the beginning of the fight. There are many things that you're going to have to fight. Many things that where you're going to need strength and healing and resolve. And above all, a mentor to speak into your life, to be able to really say, you shall not pass. Whether it's adultery or violence or curses. But it's not impossible. That's the thing. But you will need God's help. And I'm so grateful to God that He worked in my life so that my kids will have a better childhood and consequently a better future. It can happen. It's not easy, but it can happen. And we're going to be dedicating many more episodes on that. How can you now get the healing that you need? Because somebody once told me, don't be the person that others are going to need healing from.
Yeah.
Alam
mo natatama. alam mo natatamaan. Yeah.
You also said one time, but there are no bad kids,
They're just bad parents.
Yeah.
But if you are that parent, this is not to judge you.
You're
This is not to
joke.
condemn you.
Joke.
This is not to condemn you, because all of us have badness in us.
Yeah.
Because of sin. And some of us express that badness more fluently than others. And so people need healing. But here's the thing. There's always a better way. There's always God. There's always healing. And hopefully, Lord willing, we can have many more episodes after this. And that's what we're going to be addressing. That's what this is all about. And we don't want to leave you behind. We're going to bring you with us, but you're also going to have to want to walk with us.
Yeah. I have a question, because you were very intentional. And I remember growing up, I took that for granted. I just saw that, my gosh, you're so strict. There's so many rules that my friends don't have to abide by. And so it caused me to rebel. But now that I've grown a little bit more mature, growing up with a good father is something that you don't always notice as a gift until you look back. And although you're not perfect, when I look at your starting line, where you actually came from, you've come so far. And it's only because of that I was able to learn how to grow. But what happens if, let's say, for the audience, you're a young man, you know your dad is wrong, you resent your dad, but you are not intentional about making changes so that you can become better than him? What happens when you actually start your own family?
You can only bring into your family what you have. So if what you have is brokenness, resentment, bitterness, anger, hatred, wounds, you will bring that in. You can't bring in wholeness if you were not whole first before you get married, right? Marriage does not change you. Here's the thing. Marriage does change you, but in this way. Marriage will always amplify what you bring in. So if you bring in violence, marriage will make you more violent. If you bring in anger, marriage will make you more angry. Because here's the thing. A lot of people think that marriage is their way out. Marriage is their key to a better life. It's not. Marriage is not designed to make you happy. Happiness is a byproduct. And hopefully you become happy. Okay? But the purpose of marriage is not happiness. The purpose of marriage is holiness.
What does that mean?
God wants you to become more like Him, which is a good thing because God is perfect and He is good and He is right and He is wise. So God wants you to be like Him. Any good parent will want their kids to be like Him because kids always start with immaturity, knowing nothing. And so hopefully we can impart, we can pass that on to our kids. Now, because God is perfect, He wants us to be like Him. And so here's the problem. Many times people look at God and say, I don't want to have to do anything with Him because He's so full of rules. He's so full of laws, thou shalt nots. But the purpose of that is to protect us from killing ourselves, whether mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically.
Yeah.
It's so that we don't self-destruct. But because we're so broken to begin with, we think that these guardrails that He puts is to kill our joy, to kill our life, to kill our happiness. But that's not the case. And so there comes a point when hopefully you will want to change. But like I said, marriage will only amplify what's already inside. And that's why it's very important that as singles, for those of you that are still single, like you guys, you want to take advantage of your being single. This is the time to grow. This is the time to heal. This is the time to add value to yourself. Learn skills so that when the time comes that you start looking for a lifetime partner, hopefully there's enough wholeness inside for you to find someone that's also working on herself and becoming whole. Because here's the thing, you will only gravitate to yourself what you are. So if you're broken, guess what? You will gravitate someone that's also broken. So now you've got two broken people that will say, I do, and you become one flesh. So that brokenness is magnified. Imagine all the generational curses on you, and then all the generational curses on her. And you bring that together, and this becomes your gift to your kids. And so they're starting in life dehado na. They're starting in life with broken parents. What can they give? More brokenness. But it's amplified because you've got all these generations over your wife, all these generations over you, coming down, bearing on this kid that's growing up. Who, by the way, when they grow up, if they don't heal, they've got the generational curses of both parents, and then will gravitate someone with generational curses of both parents on her, coming now together, and here's the next generation, which becomes the grandkids of that person. So it gets worse. So at some point, someone has to say, you shall not pass. Right. Somebody has to say, it ends with me. But that's going to be the hardest generation. Because now, you're telling the devil, enough with you. And he's not going to take that sitting down.
That's right.
He's going to get everything in his arsenal to come against you because he wants your kids to be his. But you have a God who is greater than the devil.
Yeah.
But that also
Amen.
means...
Away bigla.
See? Gigil ako eh.
But that's the thing. God is for you.
Yeah.
But as long as the devil can make you think that God is against you, then that lie is what will keep you away from God, keep you away from your healing, keep you away from your breakthrough, keep you away from your wholeness.
Yeah.
Because now, in your mind, God is my enemy. And if God is your enemy, there's only one other spirit who's going to be on your side. See? And he's going to destroy your life. The Bible says that the thief came to steal, kill, and destroy. But we think he's our friend because God is our enemy, the one who said, "But I came to give you life
Yeah.
and life more abundantly."
Yeah.
But we think he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So what chance do your kids have?
So you need to be intentional. So
You need to be
knowing
intentional.
that your dad did the wrong things, the bad things, is not enough because he didn't show you how to do the right things.
Right.
That makes sense. There are more bad things that you can do, and usually the right things are more limited.
And here's the problem. We are creative in our badness. We are creative in our brokenness. So you find that the things that even only 20, 30, 50 years ago were scandalous, now is accepted,
Yeah.
flaunted even.
Yeah.
See? I remember my lola on my mom's side had to marry the one who became my lolo simply because he kissed her.
Huh?
And that was a scandal. He kissed her on the hand. We're not even talking sex. She was in love with someone else. But because my lolo kissed her, that was such a scandal, they had to get married.
Wow.
Now, you have sex on TV.
Yeah.
And it's nothing. It's just part of the show.
Yeah.
See? So, and it's getting worse. So the things that were scandalous before is now acceptable and even flaunted. Why? Because every generation is getting worse.
Yeah.
And that needs to change. And hopefully, it begins with us.
Right.
It begins with you.
Yep.
You have a chance. That's what this show is all about. We want to be able to give you a chance. And hopefully, you'll give us a chance to help you give you a chance.
Right.
You know, shameless plug lang. You kasi said that we're both single. I just want to say I'm not single. I have the most beautiful girlfriend. Her name is Bianca. Shout out.
But you're not married yet.
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 Well, I am single. So so
You
if-
can
if
line
my-
up and, just sign up. Anyone.
I just want to say, our audience are men.
Hindi, para lang clear. Hindi, para lang clear ha. Para lang clear. I mean, hindi.
Oh, talaga.
Okay, hindi, okay. I knew we were gonna put that in somewhere. Oh. Yeah, pero I think nga na it's so important to really accept and meditate on what you said, Tito. Kasi parang, especially in this generation, grabe, I just have a glimpse of it. But I think the generation now, parang they have relationships so quick.
Yeah.
Parang parang 1 week and then the next, iba na.
I know people.
Diba? Easy lang sa
And
details.
not only that, sometimes it's not even a relationship. The hookup culture now.
Yeah, the hookup culture is crazy.
Right? It's very toxic.
Crazy now.
But they think it's fun because then you can just have sex without the responsibility, without the relationship, without strings attached or anything like that. But it actually does more damage. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that sometime. Okay?
Yeah.
And now's not the time. But it does more damage to you. Because every time you have sex with someone, you become one flesh, the Bible says. But because there's no relationship, when you go your separate way, it's like tearing your limbs off.
Yeah.
It breaks your heart. We're not going to admit that, but it does break our heart. And it hurts, especially more so for women. Because they're more emotional. They're more in touch with their hearts. Unlike us, we're more in touch with our brains, right? And it hurts the women more than, I don't want to say more, it might hurt us on a subjective level, women more on a subjective level, but it also hurts men on an objective level. And when you do that, it's like you wound your heart, right? Now you do that several times, your heart gets chopped up. And by the time you're ready to get married, what kind of heart will you offer to your wife? It's called bopis.
Bopis.
It's so
Sisig.
chopped up.
Sisig na.
Yeah, it's sisig. It's so chopped up already that there's nothing left to give except the pain that comes from broken hearts, from
Yeah.
brokenheartedness. But the good news is that Jesus said, I have come to heal the brokenhearted. He can make that heart
Amen.
whole again
Yeah.
like no other can.
Yeah, I just want to shine light on that, no, because I don't know if whoever will see this, but I do agree because I was a part of that hookup culture before I got to know the Lord, and looking at hindsight, I just didn't know the effects of it. But I'm feeling it now, but it's praise be to God, thanks to Jesus again for healing me
Yeah.
No? But again, that's for another. I
It's
just
also
want.
because someone helped show you the way, diba? Na you mentioned that your dad loved you, but he was not maybe as intentional as he should have been. I mean, that's not his fault
Yeah.
because he didn't receive it also. But people came into your life that helped mentor you, whether it's Jacob, whether it's dad. But back then, it was more like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of the
Blind
blind,
lead. I like that. I like that. I see what you did there.
we have our blind box.
See? Alright, blind box reveal na.
I'm really excited about this one
okay.
because just
yeah,
to
let's
share
say
with you
first
guys.
what this is.
Yeah,
What's that?
I'll
What
just
does it
really
mean?
explain quick.
Okay.
With us, kasi like the way we were raised also, you taught us to look at different objects, different parts of nature in a poetic sense and see what you can learn and apply to your life.
Life stories.
Life stories.
You did that intentionally? Wow.
That's why when I started writing, I used the moon, I used different objects. And so this one, every single episode, like what Chester mentioned a while ago, our team is going to put an object that is not known to us, but what we do know is that it's somehow connected to our topic. And then we're going to reveal it, and we're going to both all explain what we think about it, what came to our minds,
Yeah.
and what we can learn from it. If this is something that we should still carry around as men, if this is something we need to let go of, or if this is something that
We need to redefine.
Redefine.
Yeah.
Okay, so do the honors.
All right.
Can we show the logo? It's
All right.
pretty cool.
Well,
can I
just
just say?
give a round of applause to our prod team. Big shout
Yeah.
outs. Thank you
Ako
guys.
lang.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ito yung logo. Nara, ready?
Okay.
Hello? Ito na. Tawa siya. All right, here we go.
Ah.
It's a frame.
Can you show
An
it?
empty frame.
It's a frame. It's a wooden frame. Gusto ko yung wooden frame kasi medyo classic eh. Alam mo yun? Medyo classic, my guy.
Who
So,
wants to
So
go
let's
first?
start with you, Chester.
Me?
What
On the spot.
What does that speak to you? What does it say to you? What does it mean to you?
wait lang. I'm trying to tap into my art side. No, but I think a frame carries more than an image. It carries memories, emotions, and I think us as men, I think. Wait lang. Di ako iyak. Hindi. Parang, I think kasi us as men, we carry and we remember the emotions that we feel more than the event itself. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So if you look at a picture, for example, naalala mo na this is when this is my first birthday. Because I remember my dad, he's a fan of VHS. Back in the day,
Yeah,
tapes.
the videotapes.
Videotapes. Grabe, sobrang kami ng videotapes. My first birthday, yung vacation namin. I don't know if the time I got circumcised, kung meron. Pero sana wala, pare.
We're gonna play it right here.
Sana wala. But yeah, I think having a frame is more than tawag dito. It's really the emotions. And tayo as men, as dads, as partners, as men, I think na whatever is in this, this is who we fight for. We don't frame things naman that don't mean anything to us. We frame things that want to remind us why we do what we do. So I think that's for me. And I think this is very, very deep, very important. Yeah.
What about you, Jeremiah? Pass it on to him.
For me, I think this is the image most men have of their dads. That for some, their dads were never there, they were never present. And for some, it's like they were there, the lights were on, but nobody was home. And it looks like, if you weren't to actually inspect it inside, it looks like most dads, most homes. You see the structure, but when you really look at the things that make up a family, make up a dad, it's empty. And I think that's what most of us men are struggling with. That maybe you did grow up with a dad present, but he was not emotionally present. He did not help you with your problems. He didn't even check up on you. And so, unfortunately, I think this is the average person's image of their dad. What about you?
Well, you know what? Strangely enough, this empty frame to me, speaks of hope.
Hopeful. Tayo negative eh, no?
It speaks of hope because this could be my future. And it's
Empty.
empty. You know, I can put anything I want to be.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
There was something I learned in psychology class called tabula rasa. I never forgot that. It's not anymore accepted in psychology, but at that time, you know, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when I was still in school, there was this thing called tabula rasa, which means empty slate.
Yeah.
And you can put anything you want on it. I remember when I was in high school, our principal brought us to a cemetery. The whole class. We went to. He was my religion teacher, and we went to a cemetery. Brother Gus, he's still alive, you know. And he brought us to a cemetery, and he said, "I want you to write an essay on death." And so, find a spot. I went under a tree, and being the rebel that I was, I wrote about life. And so when we presented our papers in class, everybody read it and everybody had their own meditations on death. And I was the only one that spoke on life. And I had a feeling that my teacher might get upset, you know. But then I said this: you need to write your obituary now.
Can you explain to those who don't know what is an obituary?
Obituary is basically what people will say about you when you're dead.
Like a
Okay.
eulogy.
Like a eulogy.
Like a eulogy, okay? But the obits kasi are the ones in the newspaper, which I think doesn't exist anymore now. Everything's digital, you know. But anyway, in my day, right? And you want to write your let's use eulogy. You want to write your eulogy. And even though I was in high school, someone told me, write down the eulogy of your wife for you. So what do I want my wife to say about me? What do I want my kids to say about me? What do I want my best friends to say about me? Right? Because chances are, what you end up writing down will be your values. What do you really value? If I want my wife to say I was a loving husband, I was protective, I was gentle with her. If I want my kids to say my dad always spent time with me. He gave me time, even though he was very busy. When everything was going crazy at home, he was like a rock. He was stable. He was steady. He didn't lose his head and stuff like that. These are the things that you really value. Then these becomes the things that you want to aim for, the things you want to become, especially if you're not that yet. This is what that is. It gives you hope. You can put down, it's empty. You can put down anything you want. What do you want to be? There was a time I wanted to be James Bond, you know? And I tried.
I think you look good
You know?
as James Bond.
Well, I tried. But I wanted to be James Bond because of the girls. See? Wrong motive, right? Wrong motive. But as I also matured and God found me and brought healing in my life, then I remember those things that I wrote down. And I want to be able to speak to you because this is your hope. Every one of you has a future like this. Some of you might think, you know, ganito na talaga ako. You know, masamang tao na ako. Ganito na rin ako mamamatay. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Your future is not written yet. Do not let your past determine what your future will be.
I love that.
You decide what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And if you give your life to Jesus, He can turn you around and bring so much healing, so much love that you would not even recognize yourself, but you will be grateful. Because there is no past so broken
Yeah.
that God cannot put together again.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think that's what this represents
Wow.
for me.
What an answer. And that's true because your resume can tell you where you've been, but can't dictate where you're going.
Yes.
God can.
Amen.
But real quick, what about you? Is there anything that you would want your children to know about you, or what would you want to pass down to them as a father?
In terms of legacy,
In terms of legacy.
In terms of legacy, I think my simple would be answer. I just wanna um, bring them closer to God, to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's it. Because which again, we will, as we get along, mas makikilala nila tayo. But the only reason why I am standing here and the only reason why I am who I am today is because of God.
Amen.
Amen.
That's it. That's the only thing I wanna pass on.
What about you, Jeremiah?
Well, I'd want my kids one day to know me as someone who was very intentional with them, who they did not have to wait. They did not have to be the one to approach me. I'm the one who actively approaches them to check up on them, to ask them about how school is, how their friends are, how their girlfriends are, or boyfriend. And I think that's what I would want for my kids. That of all the titles, like with you, I would want to be known as a good, loving father as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's so many men out there who maybe you can relate to my story. You grew up with a good dad, but you took them for granted. Because I was that type, right? Now, because I know what it's like to receive unconditional love. I think I ended up taking it for granted because I know you're gonna love me anyway. I know you're gonna accept me anyway. So let me just test out, this life.
I have no choice. I'm stuck with
No choice.
No choice. Wala tayo.
Nandiyan na eh.
Pero mahal kita. Wala tayong
Maling
choice.
ko na lang. di ba?
Mahalin ko na lang.
Binalik, But to the men who grew up with a good dad, my message is don't take them for granted. And don't wait for them to just reach out to you because every relationship is a two-way street. Right? Just because you're the son doesn't mean you're the victim of the relationship, doesn't mean you're just the recipient of the relationship. But you can also play a role there because even your dads need encouragement. Even your dads need to hear that you're proud of them. Because who better to say it than the child himself?
Yeah.
Because you're the actual product of their fathering. So don't take them for granted. Make the most out of the time that you have with them and choose to love them. And don't be ashamed to love them as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
What about you, Tito? What would you want your kids to remember you by?
Well, right now I have to say, I've got 3 kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. Jeremiah's the
This
youngest.
is a full-grown man.
He's my youngest, and I'm proud of each of them. They're unique in their own way, but the other 2 are not here. So for Jeremiah, I'm just so proud of the man that he has become. And I remember when he was probably about 5 or 6 years old, no, maybe more like 6 or 7. And I was already a pastor, of course. And he said, Dad, I want to be a pastor like you. And I felt so proud that he
Amen.
would want to become a pastor.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of asking why. Why do you want to be a pastor? And he said, because I want to shout at people like you. And wrong motive, but as he grew, I knew that God would call him into the pulpit ministry. But I didn't want to force him. Had to be something that he would want to do on his own because he felt it was God's call on him. And now he preaches on Sundays every last
Yeah.
Sunday of
After
the month.
decades of rebellion.
After decades. But so this is Father's Day. So next Sunday, he's going to be preaching. You want to hear him preach? Come over to our church, Words of Life, in Teatrino, Green Hills.
Yeah, and let us know so we can tell him how many people are going.
Get him more nervous. But he's been preaching now for a few months, and I'm just so blessed that he is growing up. There's still a lot of things that he needs to learn, but all of my kids have not really been difficult, to my wife and me. They've not been a headache. For the most part, they've been good kids, and I cannot just express enough of how proud I am of each of them.
Wow.
Caleb, my eldest, Rebecca, my favorite daughter, and Jeremiah, my youngest. I'm just so glad that they are who they are, and I know that there's still so much ahead of them because there is more.
Yeah, and I think wow, it's so inspiring to hear that from you, especially knowing what you had to go through to break all of those generational curses. So I think, if I may, no, just a word of
But
encouragement.
let me just say this, Chester, okay? Before you keep that
yeah,
there. I just want to say also that I am so proud of you. You know, I have seen where you came from in our interactions and the stories that you've told. And don't worry, Dad, because he only said nice things about you as well.
yes, that's
Okay?
true. That is true. That is
But
true.
I've seen how, or I've experienced, I've from your stories, where you came from, and being a little bit older, knowing what that trajectory would have been if not for Jesus,
Yeah.
and the changes that have happened in your life, where you are now. There's still a lot of healing and a lot of things you need to learn, but you're on the right path. And I just want to say, I'm so proud of you.
Wow. Thank you. I didn't. Wow. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Actually, reveal I am the fourth Zabarte. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, wow. Thank you. That really means a lot. Grabe ba talaga words of life, no? Parang medyo na uncomfortable ako, pero in a good way. Yeah, but again, in light of that, for you to be able to speak life into men, the younger generations, and also fellow dads, especially with what you had to go through, I think it only goes to show that there is hope with the right decisions. So I just want to say this to, if you're watching and you're a man that you're a father that really loved you, but he also tried to love you to the best of his capacity. It's just that he did not know how to. There's hope. There's hope. Your frustration is valid. The anger that you feel, it's valid. But you can love and honor your dad while healing yourself. And I think that's very powerful. And in this podcast, we just want to say that you don't have to go through it alone. That's why we're here. That's why our mission is to have no man left behind.
That's right. And to the fathers and future fathers who want to break the cycle, I want you to know that you can. You can break that cycle, not in your own strength. You will not be able to do that. But God is willing to help you if you turn to Him. And hopefully, you will take the time to subscribe to our channel and grow with us and go with us as well to be able to heal together. There's still parts of my life that need healing as well. And it comes from the strangest and most unassuming places, that even in my interactions with my kids, I find healing as well. And so I just want you to know that you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. Yeah. No man left behind is here to walk with you, to help you, to encourage you, but not sugarcoat. There will be times we're going to be direct, we're going to be straight and say, you're wrong in this. But it's not to condemn you, it's just to show you that this is an area in your life that needs to change. And as you change, hopefully, you will find the healing that you desperately need, so that your future will not be based on your brokenness.
Right. And if this very first episode, really blessed you, inspired you, please do like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We will go through this journey together. If you learned something new, or if you have any questions, just feel free to comment down below and we can tackle it. No? So again, my name is Chester Cole.
My name is Jeremiah Zabarte.
And I am Joseph Zabarte, and we are No Man Left Behind. We'll see you next time.
But please do like, please do subscribe, and please do share, because those little things will really go such a long way for us. Because the more you guys support, the more this channel grows, and the more we can focus on creating transformative content and offering authentic mentorship to more Filipino men. God bless.
Don't forget, we love you.